Hello, and welcome back. This is episode 13 of My Wife's Unavailable. I am your host and life coach, Chelsea B. And I have filling in with me today, filling in for my stunning wife is another stunning individual, my younger sister, Farrah. Hi.
Hi.
Welcome to my podcast.
Thanks. I hear you're saving the best for last because you already interviewed our other two sisters. So.
I was totally going to make that joke and you beat me to it. Yeah. Best for last, the true sister, as we like to say. Yes, this is Farrah. And I don't know if we're going to get Dad on, but so I'll keep trying, but we'll see.
Maybe we can do an episode with all of us and Dad, and that's how we get him here. Like, hey, let's just do that.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to get some more mics, but I do have enough mics for me, you, Farrah, and no, you are Farrah, me, you, Wes, and Dev.
Oh, nice.
So I'm like, at
yeah,
least...
I can't wait for that episode. That episode's gonna be great.
Man, I don't know when it'll be, but it'll happen. So anyway, yeah. Thanks for being here. Thanks for taking time out. I know that you're busy. We're both busy. Trying to find a time was a little difficult, but we made it.
Yeah. No, happy to be here.
Yeah. But yeah, so we want to hear all about you, the sister, so far the mystery sister that no one's heard about. So just tell us a little bit like about who you are, where you've been, what you're doing these days.
Yeah. So my name is Farrah. I'm the number 3 Bradley girl. As Chelsea and I like to say, we're the middle sisters.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people tell us we're not middle children. My husband being one of them because he is a true middle.
Yeah.
What does he say? He calls us 2 sets. He's like, you're the oldest of the younger set. She's the youngest of the older set. And I'm like, okay, fine. But we're still the middle sisters.
He's really just jealous.
Yeah. Well, and it's also, Dad's favorite is Devin, Mom's favorite is Wesley. Yeah. So we gotta be there for each other.
Spoken like a true middle child. Your husband is like, no, you guys aren't the middle.
Yes. But yeah, so number 3, I currently live in Texas with my family. We just moved here at the beginning of the year. My husband accepted a new job at the end of the year. An opportunity that he couldn't pass up that was going to be amazing for our family. So we said, hey, let's do it. So we have been married for, it'll be actually 5 years this December.
Nice.
And then we have our daughter, Araya, who is 16 months. And then another little one on the way come the holiday season.
Nice.
I work full-time and I'm mom full-time. It's crazy chaos, but I wouldn't have it any other way. And yeah, that's a little bit about me. Mm-hmm. What else do you want to know?
So you work for the same company that Devin works for and the same company that I left. Yes. So we've talked a little bit about it being it was at one point a little bit of a family affair, but
yes.
Yeah, maybe talk about how you got into that.
Yeah, so staffing services company. I actually was a consultant of theirs for 5 years before going internal to the job that I hold now. I've been an internal employee since the beginning of 2022. And I work to support our consultants at one of our top clients. And making sure that I'm managing the relationship with them, checking in with them, doing their orientations. It's funny because I used to say in high school and probably middle school, my friend actually JB could probably quote me on this to know in fact when I did say this, but that I used to not be the biggest fan of people. And so now that I talk to people all day long, it's kind of funny. And my passion is definitely in the people, which is even funnier because I'm like, I didn't see myself doing this. But I love it. And I love the fact that I can work from home and raise my babies, at least for now until God
Oh, you cut out. Oh no. We had some technical difficulties leading up to this, so
I don't know how that happened. Can
there
you hear
you
me?
go. Yeah.
Okay.
Probably just interference with the headphones. Sometimes my Bluetooth will do that randomly. It'll like kick me off
Yeah,
or
my
bring me
Bluetooth
back, but
who knows why. But and now my headphones aren't even working, so there we go. Gotta love technology.
well, I can
But
hear you and you can hear me, so we'll keep going.
okay, can you still hear me good though?
Yes.
Is it
Yes.
sound good? Okay, great. Where was I?
You're working from home and raising your babies.
Oh yeah, working from home, raising my babies until, I want to be a stay-at-home mom. That's the end goal, but yeah, it's great. I'm in a position where I can create my own schedule, and be able to support my clients, but also be there for my kids. And it's great because it's funny. I have consultants all the time. I'll let them know, hey, I'm not on camera because, I have my kiddo running around, and they're like, oh my gosh, they're all so supportive of it. So it's great. There's a few of them that are always like, oh my gosh, I want to see her. And I'm like, no, but it's all good.
That's awesome.
So it's, yeah, it's fun.
Cool. Maybe you can talk a little bit about just like your travels from state to state. Like,
yes.
Yeah, where you grew up and how you got to where you are now.
Yep. So we grew up, as I think I've heard on the podcast before, in Washington State, a very small town in Marysville, Washington, actually where I met my husband. We went to school together, grew up together, really. I think he came to my elementary school in like the third or fourth grade. So living in a small town, you go to the same school with everyone. And so we met there, grew up there. I was, 3-sport athlete all the time. I loved sports growing up. Definitely an outlet for me. I remember my track coach my senior year at our banquet saying, like, if it was not for track and field, I don't know where this girl would be. And he's totally right. As you and I actually were both coached by him and Wesley. Shout out Mr. Davis, great guy. And then I moved to Phoenix in 2015, beginning of 2015. So 2014 actually was when I went and visited Devin when she had Hagen. And I was just at a point in my life of like, I don't really know what I'm doing. Like, I knew I, loved what I was doing. I was a nanny at the time. But it was just kind of like where I was living. I was just like, this is just not, I'd seen the sun in Arizona and I was like, okay, like I need to be here. But that came into a, kind of scary situation because I was also with my boyfriend at the time, who is now my husband. And it was just one of those things where it's like, oh shoot, like, are we going to stay together forever? Are we not going to stay together forever? Like, what is this? And I remember telling him like, hey, something about moving to Arizona. And he was like, oh yeah, like when we retire. And I was like, no. And then it kind of took a little bit of soul searching for both of us to realize, okay, no, like, why not? Let's do this. Being closer to my sister, her family, something new. We were young, we were only 20. And so it was kind of just a big leap of faith, like, especially being 20 years old. And having had not lived together other than with our parents. We were both just working really hard, working 40 hours a week, and all of that. And so then beginning of 2015, I moved there, and then he had to transfer with his job. So it took him a little bit longer. So he moved the following October, so October 2015. And then we were there, living our 20s all throughout Arizona. And then, jobs, working like crazy, traveling, meeting new people, all that stuff. And then end of 2023 was when he accepted that new job, and now here we are in Texas.
Nice. And loving it.
Yes, loving it. We always knew Arizona like wasn't going to be forever, but we were just kind of like, where's next? Like, what do we do? And then I actually took him to Dallas for his birthday in 2021. And because at the time he's an October baby like yourself. And he always had trouble in Arizona, like, this doesn't feel like my birthday. Like, you know, as I'm sure you can relate to, when you're from Washington and the fall is just beautiful. You see the leaves changing colors, it's cold, you're drinking, you know, cider, hot cocoa, whatever it is that you're, you know, wanting to warm up with, going to the pumpkin patch and whatnot. And so for a few years in a row, my goal was to take him somewhere that felt like fall for his birthday. And so we went to a few, you know, different destinations, but then this year in specifics, 2021, I took him to Dallas to also go to a high school football game. He, as being a former football player, I was like, this is going to be so cool for him, because all I've heard is that Texas high school football is insane, which it was and is. Like, I still won't forget that Friday night, because we were just like, what? Like, this is insane. But when we were visiting, we were oddly like, this kind of feels like a mixture of Washington and Arizona, like city, towns, good people. Like, it was just kind of weirdly like, but amazing at the same time, feeling like home in a way. And so then it was kind of like, okay, hey, maybe this is the next move. God willing, we get there in like 5 years. And then things just started to fall into place, and we always still thought about Texas. And then this position that came available for him, it was like, hey, you know, we really want you, but we have to move you to Texas. And then, like I said, you know, earlier, it was one of those like, hey, this is going to be great for our family and an opportunity that we can't pass up. And, you know, as much as we'll miss our family here, you know, we've done this before, we can do it again. This time we're just doing it with a baby and married.
Nice. That's awesome.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I can definitely attest to the whole it not being fall in Arizona. Yeah. And I mean, even the summers, like, it's a complete culture shock. When we first moved here, we moved on July 4th, where you spend in Western Washington, you spend all year waiting for the summer, and it's the most beautiful thing, and it's so awesome, and you have just a little bit of it to enjoy.
You have like a month.
But we basically left when it was getting nice there, and then came here, and we were like, okay, and now this is the season that you don't go outside, that you don't go do much. And so that was really weird to wrap my head around, but it was literally last year I started to get super I don't want to say homesick, but I was homesick for the fall, like last year. And many of my friends know this. Like, Cynthia was sending me pictures, Maggie was sending me pictures from places where there was fall. And I was just like, oh my, I mean, just the most beautiful, one of my definitely my favorite season, which we just talked about in our team meeting at Chimney Cakes this morning, what your favorite season was. That was our icebreaker. And I was like, fall, 100%. But I remember last season telling Emma, I'm like, I think I need to make, even if it's just like a short weekend trip in the fall, somewhere where there's actual fall, because that seriously just, it fuels me. I love it. It's beautiful. I love the feeling of the air. I love the, it's like, for me, it's not only my birthday month in October, but it's also just like kicking off the holiday season. And it's just I just love that time of year. But.
No, Damar was just saying, he was like, wow, I'm so excited that this year I can do my normal hoodie and like jersey combo. Cause like in Arizona, there was no way he was wearing a hoodie plus a beanie plus a jersey. Like, he was just wearing a jersey. And even then he'd sometimes get too hot. but I'm like, no, it's kind of crazy. Like we have to buy winter clothes this year, which is pretty wild, but I'm also excited for it because that was one thing I loved about Seattle was layers and scarves and
It's the
boots and
best.
just all the things. And I'm like, oh my
Beanies.
gosh, like this is so cute. And whereas in Arizona, like my layers was like a sweatshirt and a long sleeve. Like
Yeah.
that was pretty much it. So
Our winter clothes have been condensed to like one tote, and you might wear some of it in any
yes.
given season.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. So, well, hey, you can come to Texas. There's a fall here. So, you know, maybe you come here, but who knows, wherever
I
you go,
will
I encourage you
eventually.
to go and do that. And maybe that's a new tradition you and Emma start.
Yeah.
Go somewhere in the fall to somewhere that feels like fall,
Yeah.
For your birthday.
Yeah.
So,
That's going to be the plan at some point in time. But I mean, we're the same too. Like, we know Arizona's not like end game.
mhm.
But it's our lives right now. So we're
Yeah.
just living them, and we'll see, where they take us. But yeah,
Yeah.
what was the other thing I was going to say? I don't know. But what are some things that you guys like to do, or you have found that you like to do in Texas?
Yes, so we're still very much in the exploring stage of things, because really we just get the weekends to explore. But so far we really love the farmers markets. We've actually found a farmers market that's down the street from us that has a um, barista who is actually from Seattle.
Nice.
So, anyone who hasn't been in Seattle that's listening, when you go to Seattle, you need to go to a coffee stand, not Starbucks. Go to a coffee stand and get the amazing coffee that is, the niche of
Yeah.
the Pacific Northwest. It is, that's always usually one of the days on the weekend. We go to the farmers market, just allowing, just to get out and get a running around and then get our coffee and stuff like that. But also just like so far, like we've just been finding like random places like, oh yeah, let's go try that out. Like today we're going to this like outdoor like where they put sports games on a big screen, but then it's like surrounded by a bunch of food places. So just finding like random things like that. Or, like we love food anyways. So I'm like, I plan my vacations around food. So I'm not surprised that I'm looking for food places now.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just kind of finding things like, oh yeah, what do you want to do? And now having a kid, it's a little bit different because we're like, okay, what can we do that, she'll like to do? Like, taking her to the library or like a play place or like the mall or something. So it kind of changes here and there, but it's funny because we are so new here. Like even when we're driving somewhere new, I can like see both Demar and I just kind of looking out the window like, oh, what, like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like, like, oh, they have this here.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, no, so far, I mean, we love to be outside. So, it's nice. It's a different type of summer here. We can still be outside for a good portion. It's not like the crazy desert heat, that when you're outside is just miserable during this time of year. So it is nice to be able to get, out of the house every once in a while, get that fresh air and stuff. And then, yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I've been outside so much more this summer than I ever even planned or wanted to be. I'm used to it now because it's been like literally, I think we're either hitting 2 months with chimney cakes or somewhere around there. But it's like, man, I did not want to be going outside this much, but now I have to.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm a little more used to it, but it's definitely making me just realize how hot it is out there some days.
Yeah.
It's like you can't, I mean, all you're doing is going from the car to the shop, and it's not like I'm not parking in the back of the parking lot, but by the time I get in, I have a little bit of sweat on my forehead, and I'm like, oh my God, it's so hot out there.
No, there's been a couple of days where I'm like, oh, it might be a little too hot for Araya to go outside. And then I step outside and I'm like, oh, actually, no, it doesn't feel too bad. We'll go for a walk.
Yeah.
And she loves being outside. She loves walking around. She loves to go see the cows that are literally down the
Yeah.
corner from us. And so, yeah, her and I will usually take a walk every morning or something like that, during the week just to get her outside. And she loves playing with her water table.
Mm-hmm.
And then she found the sprinklers in the grass
Oh,
outside. So, yeah, so we just kind
free
of,
lawn sprinklers
yeah,
in the
exactly.
summer.
And she loved it. So,
Nice.
but yeah, we're not really like, I mean, we do definitely have like our routines of things, but come the weekend, it's like, hey, what do you want to do today? Some days we stay inside. Some
Mm-hmm.
days we're like, hey, let's go and, see this place or whatever.
Yeah.
So
That's
very
awesome.
go with the flow.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. And you guys have a nice complex too, because when I was there, I went on a couple walks and it's a nice, pleasant walk. And, you have,
Yeah.
it's open enough where you're not doing like the same route. Like you only have one route every day. I didn't see the
Yeah.
cows, but next time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you guys have a pool and a gym. And so, yeah, it's got, a lot of what you might need there.
Yeah. No, the pool, I mean, Araya loves going in the water, so the pool is definitely a big hit. They have like a huge Baja shelf, kind of like Devin has in her pool, but more shallow. So she can truly like walk all around it. And it's huge. So I literally just like sit in the pool and she just walks around and like plays with the fountains and stuff.
Nice.
But no, great walking area. And even like I was actually telling Emma, because I don't know if she showed you that video I just sent her the other day of the cows.
Yeah.
She was like, how close are these cows to your house?
She
and I
loves
was like,
cows.
yeah, I'm like, they're literally like, if I had a window at the back of my apartment, like I could see the cows.
Yeah.
And she was like, I can't believe, like, she thought it would be more like city like. And it's funny because I was telling Demar this and he was like, well, we live in a town. We don't live in a city. Like the city's Dallas. Like we live in a town. But even then, like we still live like a mile, maybe mile and a half off of like the main road. So we're around a lot of land. And so it does make the walks in the mornings nice because it's just like peaceful and quiet. And we'll just walk and she'll have her bottle or her snack and I'll be listening to some music or podcast. And we're like, hey, just get some movement in for the first 30 minutes of the day. And I always tell people, I'm like, with kids, if they're going crazy, like either put them in water or get them outside. Like that is like the number one.
Yeah. It's awesome.
So far it works for her.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's so good too for kids to just like get in those habits early, especially walking. Like we didn't really grow up going on walks, but like it's just such an easy thing to do as a group or individually, like, and you can literally walk anywhere. But like, yeah, to get in that habit of going outside and moving, I think is super important for kids.
Well, and even like the other day, I was like, you know what? I don't want to put her in the stroller. I'm just going to let her walk and see where she takes me. And I was like, I should film this next time because it was truly a toddler-led walk. And, it did take a while, but I was like, you know what? I have nowhere to be.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to let her explore. And, she got to like where the bike racks is. She was trying to get on someone's bike. And I'm like, girlfriend, you cannot do that. But she wanted to play. It was another little girl's bike, and it was like, the pom-poms on the handles and whatnot. But yeah, just letting her explore and kind of seeing things from her eyes was fun. So, and just realizing, hey, this is just as much her world as it is mine.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's gonna be so fun. Like when she gets a bike and just starts learning things like that.
You're going to come and have to teach her because you taught me. So
I know.
You're going to have to come and teach her how to ride a bike.
Literally just thinking, hopefully she doesn't run straight into a parked vehicle. Like you did. Oh my gosh, that was so funny. In all fairness.
Wasn't it Grandpa's like brand new truck too?
Yeah. I don't know how brand new it was, but it could have been. But it was definitely his truck.
I mean, the guy definitely got a lot of new cars. So I wouldn't be surprised if it was brand new.
Yeah. I just remember because we lived in a cul-de-sac and we always used the sidewalk like it was like we were playing cars or whatever.
Yeah.
But I just remember you were just like tearing around the corner of the cul-de-sac, and I was in the yard, and just like you didn't even, I don't know, you didn't even see the vehicle parked in the driveway, and he did come like after you'd already been out there riding your bike. But yeah, I just ran right into it, and I was like, did you not see that car parked right there?
Oh man.
I'm pretty sure you came out unscathed, but
yeah,
that was pretty funny. But you know what? That comes with the territory when you're learning to ride bikes. You're going to fall, you're going to get scrapes, you're going to have to learn to watch for cars and all those things.
Yeah.
But
that was such a good neighborhood though. Like, I wish everyone had that childhood to live in a neighborhood like that. Like, we weren't near a busy street, you know, there was a bunch of kids. Everyone, at least from I remember, was nice neighbors. And just like, it was truly like, I even think about like how much room we had, because I remember our parents always were like, don't go past the mailbox because we can't see you. Because they were always in the garage or like right on the front porch, because we had that nice front porch. We had a beautiful yard too. But I just remember like, this is such a good neighborhood. Like, this is cool. Being able to walk to school was awesome. Although Wesley and I were just talking about that, and like, or maybe I was talking about it with you, I can't remember, but I was like, thinking back, like, that's a freaking long walk that we used to have to take to get to our school.
To Kellogg Marsh.
From our house. Like, that, like, from our house to the top of the street has to be like a mile, or at least close to a mile. Like,
I think it was probably a mile and a half to 2 overall, because our house was at the very end of the neighborhood, and then
literally
the school was also set back. You had like that long driveway once you got to the entrance of the school. So it probably was
a long walk.
It was probably at least a mile and a half one way.
Yeah, it had to be. It was for sure over a mile, for sure. But it was a long walk, and I was like, wow, our parents, like, granted, our parents didn't have a choice. Like, we had to walk to school, because they were working. But I mean, and I always liked walking to school. I always thought it was fun, but it was like, dang, like, that was a long walk. A long walk for a kid, like, for a kid to do.
I wonder why we didn't ride the bus, because I think I rode the bus when I was in kindergarten, but it's like a very vague memory, and I just always remember walking. So I don't know. I feel like there was a bus option, but maybe it came like super early, and we could just walk and not have to be ready so early.
I don't know. I don't remember riding a bus until high school. Because I walked to school in elementary school and middle school. I remember Mom getting a job in middle school, being able to take Wesley and I to school. And then we also had one of Devin's friends take us to school because she watched us in the morning. But yeah, elementary school, I definitely remember walking a lot to and from school.
Yeah, it was just an everyday thing. Like, I remember you'd like go outside and it'd be pouring down rain, and you'd be like, oh, I need to go, Mom, can you take me to school? And most of the time it was no, and you're just like, oh. And she would make sure we had raincoats, umbrellas, rain boots, because you're walking.
When I think I remember this, that wasn't it when you were in middle school, you would come to Wesley and I's elementary school, and then we'd walk back with you? Is that what it was?
Yeah, I'd pick you up at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I'd work in the
with
mail
your trumpet
room.
in tow.
I'd work in the mail room until you guys were done.
Yes. With Mrs. Gosh, what was her name? Miss Kissinger. That was her name.
I don't know, but man, I got fast. Like, you know, in The Grinch when he's just like throwing mail, like literally I was that fast. I was just like,
jury duty.
Yeah. I knew where all the boxes were, but yeah, I know. And I mean, I think I was in 6th or 7th grade, so we were definitely the term latchkey kids. So it was definitely us. But we had, you know, solidarity in numbers. We had our little group going on.
Yeah. But yeah, I just remember you carrying your big trumpet case, and having to walk, which kudos to you. That's probably heavy.
Now that you're saying this, I'm like, yeah, so I walked myself to school. Then I walked to your school that was like a mile away and then walked home with you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. But remember that trumpet case came in handy one time when a dog was pestering us.
I don't remember that.
Oh, well, I just remember like.
I believe it, but I
Yeah.
don't remember it.
It wasn't like, I don't think we were in any real danger, but it kept like barking and I think it was you, but it could have been Wes or both of you were like getting scared and I couldn't get it to go away. And so I just whapped it with the trumpet case and then it ran off and I was like, get out of here.
There you go. That's better than, I remember one time dad giving me the advice when I walked to school, because it was middle school, because at that time Wesley wasn't in school with me yet. And so I was walking by myself. And I remember him telling me like, hey, if a dog comes up to you, pretend like you're throwing a rock. And I was like, I don't think this is going to help me, but okay.
Did you ever try it?
Well, I never had to.
Oh, that's true.
But I just remember being like, I don't think this is going to help me as much as you think it's going to help me. But you know what?
So
this is the advice my dad is giving me.
Yeah.
And, you know, if I ever come into counter with a dog that's trying to get me on the way to school, because on that road, and that's probably why I didn't actually ever come into that situation, because that was like a busy road.
Yeah.
That you had to walk from our second house to our middle school. And so it was really more so like, hey, watch for cars, because that was a really busy road.
Yeah. At least, like, if you think about it, we had good, like, sidewalks and stuff. Like, because even on that busy road, there was, like, that chain, like, there were sections where it was, like, chained between the road and the sidewalk.
Yeah.
So
it was
like,
really only that one piece, like, from our neighborhood to that chain link fence that wasn't a true sidewalk.
Yeah.
But there was enough kids that, like, because there were so many neighborhoods right around there was enough kids walking at that time that, like, hopefully people would be mindful.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was safe enough, at least for mom and dad, to let me walk to school alone. So
yeah, it was a safe area we were in.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do. I've always wanted to live somewhere where I could like walk to work too. And I wonder if it's from just how we grew up. I just always like walking places.
Yeah. That's another like way of Demar and I planning our vacations is like, we want to stay somewhere where we can walk to like food stores, like all the things. So usually we'll stay downtown somewhere. But that's like a big one. Like maybe we'll take a few Ubers here and there, but like mostly we want to just be able to walk wherever.
Yeah. And that's how you can sightsee more too. Or see like the little hole in the wall places or something like, ooh, what's in there?
Yeah. And that probably does come from our childhood, because we lived in such a small town that like you could literally back then you could walk. It was very safe to walk in our small town. I mean, how many times did we walk to A&D to get some candy and snacks and then back home? And it was just like, you know, that's what you did. Or even you and I running cross country, you know, running throughout the town, like it was safe enough for our coaches to be like, hey, this is your route that you're going. 88th Street to, like, I can hear Mr. Edens being like, hey, this street to this street, and the loop. So it definitely was safe enough to, you know, do a lot of things. I think about like the summers that we had there of like, and always being like, okay, hey, come home when it's dark. I'm like, sweet, we don't have to be home till like 9:30. In the summer, like it doesn't get dark until very late. So but yeah, I remember, I mean, walking to my friend's house, like, you know, because I remember when we lived in our second house, Kayla lived on that next street over. And so we'd walk, you know, we'd take turns basically walking. But also like there was other friends that lived in other areas of the town. It's like, oh yeah, I'll walk there. I think the furthest friend that I had was Kendall, because she lived over by like Hagen's, and that was like a super far walk. So mom and dad had to drive me there. But yeah, no, that probably does come from our childhood of just like, that's just what you did.
Yeah.
Your parents were working during the day, and so if you wanted to go somewhere, they were like, hey, walk.
You had to get yourself there.
Yeah. unless I called, like, I remember I did get to one point of just like calling grandma and grandpa because they lived down the street and I knew they weren't doing anything. So
Yeah. I do love that part about our, just like how we were raised, that we had to figure it out like so many times.
totally.
And that's
Yeah.
just like my default. It's like,
Yeah.
and so I am really thankful when I reflect on that, because I'm like, I really don't ever see challenges as challenges, like, or
Yeah.
obstacles, I should say. I'm
Yeah.
never am like, oh crap, like I'm
Yeah.
screwed, or I can't, I'm always like, what am I gonna do about this? And just
Yeah.
like trying to figure it out.
Jamar calls that my tunnel vision. He's like, you get to a point where you just have a tunnel and you're just like, I'm gonna get through it.
Yeah.
I don't know how, but I see the light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, nothing stops you. Like nothing.
No. And if you try to tell me like, oh, that can't be done or something, then I'm going to show you, I'll figure it out.
Oh, you don't think I can do this? Watch me.
Yeah. Yeah. So shout out to mom and dad for that one.
Yeah.
Helped us figure it out.
Shout out to mom and dad, but also I just think like shout out to that time in history of just like, that's just how it was. Like, our parents had to work, which, I mean, all parents have to work, but that was just a time in a lot of things where it was like, hey, kids just had to figure it out. You were home alone earlier. Like, I feel like some kids nowadays, like, don't be home alone until they're like 16 or something like that. And granted, the world has changed. It's a lot different now. So I'm thankful that we, like you said, were able to grow up in a time like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, it wasn't just us. It was like all our friends, the same thing. Like you'd go to whatever friend's house and no parents were home. You had to figure out your snacks or whatever. And like, oh, we can walk to my house. And, it was always like I don't know, parents were working.
You just had to make, the biggest worry for us back then was you just had to make sure you're going to the friend's house that had the good snacks. Yeah. Like, which was usually our house. Yeah. Because we always had, hostess, because dad was working for Wonder Bread at the time. And, we just always had the good snacks. Like, I remember having sun chips and having like all the things. And it was like, and then also too, I think with Wesley and I, how we were like, cause you were mostly home with us pretty much all the time, especially during the summer, but like you were able to like cook for us and our friends and like, cause you were old enough to do that.
I could operate the stove.
Yeah. Operate the stove and make sure we weren't, catching anything on fire.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. Those were good times.
Definitely.
I loved having you guys around too, honestly. Like I loved being a big sister. And I still do, but obviously you don't need me to be a big sister as much anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, like super fond memories of just like having you guys around. And so many of my friends too are like, they know you from when you were little. And like definitely. When I can't remember who it was, but definitely Katrina, but there are other friends too that are like, oh my gosh, can't believe Farrah's having a baby. Like I met her when she was a baby, like things like that. And just they have memories of you guys going to cross country practice and hanging out. And I'm like, yeah, because it's not only was I babysitting technically, but also that's just the way it was. Like, they're my sisters and they're hanging out. So you gotta be okay with that or go away.
I also think like, and this would be more of a question for you, but I don't feel like Wesley and I were like annoying little sisters to have around. Like, I don't think like, I think like we kind of just let you and your friends be, but like would ask for help in here and there. But I totally remember, I actually was just telling Demar about this the other day. Cause we saw a Burger King commercial and he was just like, dude, who goes to Burger King? Like and I was like, yeah, I don't know. I don't like Burger King. But I was like, I remember though, and I don't remember, maybe you do, but I do remember going to Burger King with you and your friends after doing your run, during the summer, during cross country, practice. And you guys would always go get these like cinnamon roll things from Burger King or something like that. And I just remember being like, that was like so fun. Like Wesley and I would ride our bikes and you
Yeah.
guys would run your, course or whatever you'd have to
Yeah.
do for practice. And then we'd go to Burger King after. And
Yeah.
then, which is funny because like if anyone knew our town, they'd be like, what are these girls doing like all over town? It's a small town, people. Like
Yeah.
it's a very small town. Like you can even drive the whole main street in like 8 minutes probably.
Yeah.
Like it's a very small town. But yeah, no, I totally remember just like playing in the pool. Like
Yeah.
I remember like once dad set up that pool and we had that mini trampoline and like doing like
Oh my
running
gosh,
and
that was the
jumping into the
best.
pool.
Especially after
But yeah,
cross
no,
country practice.
yes, especially after, because yeah, those were like mornings. Like I don't know how early you were getting Wesley and I up, but it was like, hey, we gotta go to practice, and
Yeah.
just however many hours, and we're riding our bikes and whatnot.
Yeah.
But
Which I remember because the summer runs were technically optional, but I was the captain. And so I was like, I
yeah,
have to be there. Also, I want to be there because it's my sport
yeah,
and my team or whatever. And I remember at one point it was in question about me being able to go because I had to watch you guys. And I was like, they can come with. And I don't remember the exact like word for word conversation, but I remember it was like, how are they going to come with? And I was like, they can ride their bikes. And I was just like, no, like that's going to happen. And I remember our parents, probably mom, was just like, okay. But I was like, we're going to be running. Like they're little kids. They can ride their bikes. It's fine. But that's, like to your point, that's like the town we lived in. Like you could do that.
yeah,
A group of people
totally.
could be running and kids could be riding their bike on the side of the road and you'd be fine.
Yeah, no. And I remember that as like a fond summer memory. Like, oh my gosh, yeah, like we're going to cross country. Like, and then I even remember the one summer that then Megan's siblings started coming and it was like one big thing. And we're like, heck yeah, like this is so cool.
Yeah. The Bradley bunch and the Crenshaw crew is what we called ourselves.
Was it the Crenshaw crew or the Crenshaw clan? I can't remember.
Maybe it was the clan.
It was something. Yeah. It was something like that.
It was like, is the Bradley bunch going to be at practice tomorrow?
Yeah. Yeah.
That was a lot of fun.
This is a team effort, people.
Yeah. But
team
and then I remember after we got the pool, it was like, okay, come over to our house afterwards and cool off and jump in the pool. And we'd have multiple days where everyone was just like, we had like a mini pool party for a couple hours.
Totally. With our parents not there.
Yeah. But it was all innocent fun, just cooling off after a run.
Oh, heck yeah.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
But
it was great.
Good times, man. I'm so glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
Well, we can move on to questions now, unless you have anything specific you want to bring up.
I should have taken notes that I've always been mentally taking notes with each podcast that I've listened to of yours. Yeah. Of like certain things like actually the solo episode, remember I told you I was like, you clearly did not brag about yourself enough when it came to how fast you were.
Okay. You take the floor, you can brag.
I wish I could show everyone that video of you in the 4x4, and she's shaking her head in the camera right now because she knows exactly which one I'm talking about. But that is like, Chelsea, you freaking were so freaking fast. Like,
yeah.
And I get it. You don't like to brag about yourself. Totally. But like, you were so freaking fast. Like, I even remember like when that episode was going, I was like, does she not remember that like at State we had shirts that literally said "Don't blink and you'll miss her"? Like, like she's so fast. Yeah. But no, did dad ever get that video on like DVD or whatever?
Yes. And I was finally able to show it to Emma because Emma's like, I feel like I've seen this video because you guys have talked about it so much, but she only watched it like within the last year or two.
Dude, so freaking fast. And shout out to Grandpa for having it on video. It was not the best video quality because he was so excited. He loved watching you front track. I remember that.
So fun.
But he actually loved coming to any of our sporting events. He was pretty much always at our sporting events, which was really nice. But I remember the video getting shaky at one point because he was getting so excited, like, holy shit, she's gonna catch this girl.
And you can just hear people like screaming their freaking lungs off, like
dude, it was crazy because it was also raining, like, and you were legit like almost 200 meters behind this girl, like you were truly running your ass off, and it was just like, holy crap.
Also the rain, so you can see in the video. Okay, so let's just talk about it. We're talking about a 4x4 race. Yeah. And I was the anchor. And the race is going, you know, everything's fine. When I get the baton to run the last lap, the girl is like probably like 150 meters out.
Easily. Which she's far. She's far.
Which when you're sprinting is a long freaking distance to catch up.
And in reality, when you see that as a audience, you're like, oh, they ain't freaking catching up to her. Like, she's gone.
Yeah. And you can see in the video. Yeah, you can see in the video when I get the baton and it just starts raining. Like, you can see that it's like kind of raining, and then all of a sudden it's just like on me. Literally. And I loved running in the rain. I still do. But I'm sure that helped. I'm sure that gave me a boost because I was just like, oh, like, this is nice. Yeah. But yeah. And then you see me like on the back stretch. And as Farrah said, the video isn't great. So you can't see exactly what's going on. But you can also hear people like going, oh my God, she's catching up to her. And like starting to like realize I'm actually gaining on this chick that's half a lap ahead of me almost. Yeah,
literally.
Yeah. And then I don't know. I guess I also wonder, like, what was this person doing? Because it feels like they just completely lost gas. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is not hard to do in a 4x4. We were watching the Olympics and it was the 800 and I was like, oh, I will never forget when Mrs. Edens was like, hey, Farrah, you're running the 800. And I was like, excuse me? What? But
no, thank you.
After cross country, they had realized how much, even though I was fast, they had realized how much gas I actually still had at the end of races. And which was kind of like, how? Because you're already running your ass off. Like, how do you still have this much gas? Yeah. But I would literally just like, boom, like, and so then they were like, okay, you're running the 800. And I was like, please do not. Please do not want to do that.
Yeah. Please do not.
Yeah. But it was between, because I wasn't really, you were the sprinter. I was more so like that mid, like 400, 800, and then cross country. I could sprint fast, but I mean, you were truly like a sprinter. And I think even Wesley was good at the 200. And she did the 4x4 too. I think she did the 4x1 as well, but I definitely had that more stamina to do like the longer-ish races. But yeah, no, that race definitely like was, now talking about it, I want to know how fast that lap was for you.
Yeah, good question. We should time it.
We should actually, I bet you Miss Eden still has it on record.
Oh my gosh, she kept everything.
The way she took notes on things, like I will never, I mean,
we could time it from the video though, too.
Oh yeah.
Like when I get the baton.
Yeah.
But yeah.
We should definitely do that because that has to be, if it was not one of your fastest or like the fastest lap that you had, it has to be one of your fastest. Yeah. Because that was just insane. Like, and it was just, for my knowledge, it was just a regular meet, which I was like,
it was a regular meet.
This is
But
crazy.
You know what? I was out to win every race. If I had it in me, I was going to try to win.
I can like only imagine, like, and knowing our coaches, we had amazing coaches. Like we truly, truly did. And it's so cool actually that me, you, and Wes had the same coaches with track, and well, you and I did cross country. Wesley didn't do cross country, but it's just so cool that like we had that experience, because I'm sure not a lot of siblings have that experience. And I think about it actually at your wedding when I was talking to Mr. Edens and Mrs. Edens, and um, where you guys got married, I had an invitational there for
Okay.
cross country.
Yeah.
And I was just telling Mr. Edens, I was like, didn't we have one here? And he couldn't remember it. But then he like towards the end of the like talking with him, he's like, no, we totally did. Like we actually like, this was like a crazy orientation, or not orientation, goodness, I'm not at work. Invitation that we had for cross country. But yeah, I mean, it's funny, like Mr. and Mrs. Edens, I still hear them cheering me on, like even to this day. Like they were amazing coaches, and we had, I mean, like I said, we had amazing coaches all throughout high school. And but I like Mrs. Edens and Mr. Edens, like they had such specific coaching, like cheering you on, like you could hear them, like, and that's what I mean when I say I still hear them to this day, like cheering me on.
And you searched for their voices in the crowd.
Oh, totally. I remember the one race that I actually won, first place for cross country. It was another weekend race, so it was another invitational, but it was at where was it? It was some island that I know we had to take a ferry.
Was it Woodby?
But maybe it was Woodby. Maybe. Actually, that does sound right. It was probably Woodby. But there's a portion of that race where you're just in the woods, like you can't see anyone, like no one's there to cheer you on and stuff like that, as far as like, you know, but next to you and stuff. And I just remember hearing Mr. Eden's voice and being like, okay, I'm getting close,
echoing like through the forest.
Like I'm getting close.
Yeah.
And that race also too, oh my god, like probably the last 400 meters of that, my hair tie fell out, and that was when I had really long hair.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
And so I ran the last bit of that race with my hair down. And I remember people being like, did you take your hair out? I'm like, no, why the hell would I take my hair out?
Just the last lap, just like, let's go.
Like, no, which is so funny because anytime I see anyone with their hair down at the gym, I'm like, ugh, why do you have your hair
what
down?
You doing there?
Yeah.
Interesting.
But no, shout out to Mr. and Mrs. Edens. Great people, great coaches. Like truly.
Yeah.
And I would say like even just track and field and cross country, and you can vouch for me here because we didn't do it together, but we did the same sports. Compared to Wesley. Wesley did volleyball and stuff, and you and I pretty much just stuck to running. But all of those coaches that we had for track and field and cross country were just awesome people.
Yeah, they really were
awesome, really awesome. Yeah. And then what was there was another episode, I think, with Amanda, or Lady Amanda, sorry. It was something about, and I actually texted you about it, about like my voicemails back in the day
where you would just talk.
Yeah, it was something along those lines of like, oh, clearly Lady Amanda has not talked to me. Like I used to just, you know,
I would crack up when you would leave me a voicemail, because I'd be like listening to it, and then usually after like a minute or so you're like, okay, we'll talk to you later, you know, the standard voicemail, and you just like keep going, and I would be like, does she remember she's leaving a voicemail? She's just talking to me. But I love it.
I was made for FaceTime.
It's like
that
your polos.
Is like FaceTime is I love FaceTime.
Yeah.
But I think I was FaceTime before FaceTime was a thing.
Yeah.
And so that was where my voicemails came in, was just continuing to talk to you. It was like before Marco Polo. Yeah. Like even that, like, you know.
Yeah.
And that was when I like got a cell phone and you were in Bellingham. Yeah. So it was like, okay, hey, like my sister's not answering me, but like I'm gonna still have a conversation with her over her voice.
And I have like 5 minutes to spare right now, so I'm just gonna keep talking.
Like, why not?
I love it. Yeah, no, I love it. And I'm gonna have you back to talk more track and cross country, because we could do that all day.
Oh my gosh, all day long.
Yeah.
Some of the best. Like I think I was probably one of the only kids. Although when I was watching the Olympics and they were doing the 200, I was like, ugh, Tuesday twos. Like, oh my gosh, like I wanted to barf. But I just tracking. I remember counting down the days. Like, hey guys, it's 90 days till track. Like, let's freaking go.
It was literally the best time of the year. Like, it's why we went to school, was to be in track.
Yeah, truly.
Yeah. I know we were watching the Olympics too, and I was like, dang, I could have been in the Olympics. And Devin was like, oh my gosh, I know. And we were just like, and I'm like, but I said this to them too. I'm like, but how? Like, where do you go after college? Like, do you just like get a coach or like, you know? And Trav's like, yeah, that's exactly what these people do. They go like get a coach, get like a team to strengthen them up, make them faster, whatever. And I was like, well, I had zero direction on that. I didn't know what, you know, but like, and I wouldn't have been probably like a medalist, but like just to even be at the Olympics, to be like fast enough to be competing, like
seriously,
I could have been there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it, I couldn't remember this, but Haley was in the Olympics. What race did she do? I can't remember.
800.
800. Okay.
Yeah. She was a 800 runner and she ran for the Marshall Islands.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was pretty cool.
Love Haley.
Me too. Shout out Haley. Hope she's listening. Anyway, okay. Let's get to these questions. What is your best self-care tip or advice?
Honestly, not the best at self-care right now. Busy mom and just busy life. But I think finding whatever like gives you just like a little bit of peace. Like for me, I love going and getting my nails done and love like, you know, getting a spray tan or just like something that just like, you know, it's gonna make me feel good, but like it's very simple. And also like just like, you know, whether it's like I was big, like started in 2020, doing like little things of like what self-care could be. And my little thing was like having a skincare lineup and like being so happy to like do my skincare every day. Like it's funny because everyone's like, oh, what do you do for makeup? I'm like, I'm not really a makeup person. Like I'll have some makeup on, but I'm more so like a skincare person. Like, oh my gosh, give me like a good mask and whatever. But
so a little bit of like self-pampering.
Yes. Yeah. Self-pampering. And whatever that looks like to you. It's funny. Like I remember, this was years ago, but I remember asking Damar, like, cause we've always been very good about having like, our own hobbies and individual stuff and then doing things together too. But I remember, asking him like, what is one thing, like if you did it every month or like bi-weekly that just like brought you peace, but also just like I don't even know what the other word what exactly it was, but like what is that? And I can't remember his answer at the time, but I just remember like me, it was right away I was like getting my nails done. Like getting my nails done like that, like even though it just takes like maybe an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours depending on how long the salon takes, but I just feel so good after that. Like, oh man, my nails are done. This is great. So yeah, I think just finding something that is like somewhat pampering to yourself, but also just brings you peace at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Like when you know, like you get excited to do it, but also like when you are done with it, you're just like, oh man, this was great.
Yeah.
Like I just treated myself. And I feel great, you know? Nice. And I think it's funny because when I started doing like the skincare and like really trying to do a lot of self-care, I realized that it didn't take much for me to like feel like peaceful about it. And it was just those little things, like I said, going to get my nails done and doing my skincare in the morning. Like, this is great.
Yeah. Good tip.
Yeah.
Okay. What lights you up?
Right now, my little family that I have.
Yeah.
I I mean, the fact that Araya every morning literally will not get out of her crib unless she hugs my belly is like the cutest thing ever. She really doesn't love when my like I don't have anything that like I don't have a shirt on where she can't like lift it up slightly and see the belly. Like when I'm wearing a romper, she's like, what the heck is this? But yeah, just like I'm living a life right now that I once prayed about, and it's just like amazing. And the fact that I'm having another baby, it's wild, but exciting at the same time. So yeah, just everything that's going on with my little family, like I'm like, I am obsessed with this. So,
That's awesome.
and I mean, if you were to see, I mean, Chelsea's seen my baby, but she's pretty freaking cute. So
she is like,
yeah.
There are almost no words sometimes. Yeah, she's pretty awesome.
Yeah, she's great. And she's the sweetest little baby.
Oh, I am so blessed with just the best nephews and niece. Like, yeah, it's just awesome. And Emma too, like when we saw her family a few months back, and we were just like, man, we just have the best families. Like, we're the best nieces and nephews. They're awesome. So yeah, agreed. Yeah. Okay, what is a great source of joy for you that you've not put much focus into lately?
My answer is going to be the same that I've heard you say, and that is reading. But also journaling too. I used to be really good at journaling in the mornings, and that was a good day setter for me. But reading, I've always loved reading. I also, like, mom has told me before that like she remembers like having to come into my room and be like, yo, you need to turn off the lights and like go to bed. Yeah.
Same.
But yeah, reading, like I love reading. I just need to make more time for it. And it's funny, actually, I was doing 75 hard-ish with Damar. And one of the things is reading 10 pages at minimum a day. And I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna start doing that because that's not that many pages. But I just forgot about how much I freaking love reading. Like, I'm like, dude, reading is so awesome. I don't like audiobooks. I think that's cheating. And like I'm like, how do you pay attention? Like, mom does audiobooks sometimes and I'm like, nah, I don't like that.
Yeah, I end up missing stuff.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't like that. But I thought about getting like a Kindle at one point, but I'm like, you know what? No, there's nothing that like compares to like just reading a book. Like, you know, we recently got library cards for the local library here.
The library.
And Araya loves reading. Like, she loves reading.
It's awesome.
It's funny, actually, I put books in the car now, so like when we're going on a drive, I'll just give her some books and she'll just literally just like look at it. It's funny, when we were just going to Target yesterday and I hear her in the background like just like laughing, and I'm like, what's Bluey doing? Like, you know?
Oh my gosh, reading herself the story. That's awesome.
Yeah, she was just she's very like, you look at her, like, I got to take a picture of it one day, but she's very intent on, you know, focused on whatever is going on in the story. But yeah, reading would be that. And so I'm gonna try and do that 10 pages a day. I'm just like, hey, like, maybe there's days that I get to it, maybe there's days that I don't, but reading is just like, yeah, I forget. And every time I do start reading, I'm like, man, I freaking love reading.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, and then journaling. Yeah, like I said, journaling is definitely a good one. I usually more so focus on like a prayer journal. But any type of journaling I think is great. I always give that advice to people when, you know, they're going through something. I'm like, have you journaled about it? And they're like, no. I'm like, you should try it. It's really nice.
It's a great outlet.
Yeah, especially if you can get out. Like, usually what I would do is like, I'd set my worship music and then just start journaling. But, you know, maybe it's, you know, sometimes I'd journal to like piano music or something that's like relaxing or something. But I think journaling is also a good self-care therapeutic thing, that I think is really underrated.
Yeah, totally. I agree.
Yeah.
Okay. With that, is there something that you're maybe not so much reading, but reading or watching or listening to that's like noteworthy right now?
Let's see. What did we recently? We have recently been, well, so I'm always watching like something old because I and I don't know where this comes from, but I have to have some sort of background noise on, whether it's like a podcast or like a TV
Mm-hmm.
show. I think that's probably because it's mostly just me during the day, and like usually tomorrow's at work, and so I'm like, okay, there's like some sort of noise. But totally watching Law and Order SVU right now,
Nice.
which is obviously an old show, but Olivia Benson, I mean, shout out to her, she's awesome.
Yeah.
But Jamar and I just were watching Presumed Innocent on Apple TV. Didn't love the ending of it. It was kind of one of those like, what just happened? But it was still a really good show.
Okay.
We also watched Dark Matter. That one, we did not love the ending of it, but it was still a really good show.
Okay, interesting.
Literally, Tamar's like, I'm going to tell people to watch the show, but I'm going to tell them to not watch this last episode.
Yeah.
Like, just don't. And then we also always like watching those like football shows like Hard Knocks and like documentary type things. So right now on Netflix is Receivers. We've only watched 2 episodes of it, but it's just really cool to like see into the lives of those people, like these athletes, and realize like they're literally just human, just like us.
Yeah.
Like there's one of the players on the Raiders, the one episode he's like hosting his daughter's birthday party at their home, and some people like didn't even know who he was. They were just like, hey, nice to meet you, you're blah blah blah's dad. And he's like, yeah. And like he's like, hey, some people know who I am, some people don't.
Yeah.
But we really like those shows, especially like the Hard Knocks ones that like kind of take you through the season and like the football season and stuff like that. Damar being obviously a former football player, but also just like we like sports in general, and just kind of, you know, seeing how those people, you know, practice and all of that. It's just really interesting to kind of see things that way. And granted, there's edits and stuff in those shows, but it's still cool.
Yeah.
Still a cool thing to watch. Yeah. And then, I mean, if you have kids, Bluey's great. Love Bluey.
So popular
and Bingo.
right now.
Big fans of Bluey and Bingo. I don't know, maybe Lady Amanda knows about them because they're from Australia.
Oh.
Yeah, they're
That's so funny.
so cute.
I love it.
Yeah, so a mixture between, in this house, it's a mixture between kids shows and adult shows. I did have to find things though, like on, because like I said, I do have something on TV, whether it's music or something going on, because I'm just like, I have to hear something. But I was like, you know what, I don't want to watch I don't want to hear kids shows all day long. So I recently started putting Fresh Prince on, which is
nice.
really funny because like I haven't seen that whole season.
Yeah.
I've seen episodes obviously, but I'm like, I haven't seen it in order, you know. But also like that show is older, so I'm like, I was, you know, super young. I don't even know when it came out, but obviously it's a great show, and so it's just nice to kind of see that and watch that every once in a while and have a change of scenery from the kid shows and whatnot.
Yeah, it probably came out before you were born. I think it was like early or mid 90s that it came out.
Probably.
But
yeah.
Well, awesome. One thing I wanted to share before I close out is I got a couple pieces of fan mail. So
you did?
Yeah. So any listener, at the end of the description of the episodes, you can send me a message. So you can send me some fan mail. And I enabled that, and I got a couple messages.
What did you get?
So I initially had it at the beginning of the description, but then sometimes the description area is so small that then you couldn't even like see what the episode was about at all, like even the first part. So I moved it to the end. I don't know if I should probably move it back so people can see that it's there. Still playing with that. But anyway, one is from my friend Lori, who is, she's going to have an episode coming out here soon. But
Lori's always your biggest supporter, or one of your biggest supporters.
She's a huge fan. She is like, finally found out how to listen to your broadcast. Totally awesome. Love it. Tell Emma I love McDonald's too, but I broke fast food going on 4 months. Woohoo. Love you both. Then she also said, I'm listening to all your episodes. I love the topics, love the guests, love your solo show. What a great podcast. Love you. So thanks, Lori. I got one from Pine Top, Arizona. No name. So to this listener, it said, great episode. This was on August 14th. And a little bit of feedback. Have you thought about doing solo episodes where you provide simple life coaching tips for how you would approach different topics and kind of a way to sell your brand? Obviously, you wouldn't have to give away real juicy stuff because you need to make sure people are still wanting your services, but it's just a thought. And then they said, I think the show is great the way it is. I listen to the show all the time, and Wednesdays are the perfect day for it to break up the work week. And then they said,
Wednesday's my favorite day of the week.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. Mine years ago was Thursday because that was CSI day. And then it just kind of remained because it felt like, ooh, tomorrow's Friday and like that vibe. But now we have Wifey Wednesdays. So I thought when I was doing the podcast, I was like, what day am I going to launch this? And then I was like, Wednesday, Wifey Wednesday.
What is Wifey Wednesday? Is that like a date day or like date night?
Yeah, it's more so geared toward just like relationship building. Like we're not on our phones and we're not like watching a movie. Like we're doing something where we're actually like connecting and just hanging out. Sometimes we're listening to music, playing games. Sometimes we read The Argument Hangover. This is when Wifey Wednesday started, and we would read a chapter every Wednesday. And it's like a book about basically like improving your communication in your relationships, which I didn't seek it out for that reason. I was actually just wanting to get like some insights into kind of marriage coaching. And so I looked up marriage coaches, and I found these people that actually sit in Phoenix, and like saw they had a book, and I was like, oh, let's check out this book. And there were some good tidbits. There were also some things in it that we were like, it doesn't super apply to us, but it was still a good read. And then it just kept going from there. Wifey Wednesday. And we most recently were doing a like course from the Gottman Institute. Do you know the Doctors Gottman, whatever. They're like the pioneers of like love. I want to say coaching, but it's not really, but like kind of just love and relationships and marriage and being like in that partnership. So they have a bunch of resources and a bunch of tools, and it's like this course where you go through like different kind of exercises or activities. And like 1 week it's like go post notes around the house of like things you can do for your loved one or something like that, like little things. Or one time it was like think of, you like chose from like a group of questions, and like one of the ones I did was like think of a time that Emma really supported me. And so it like puts you in that headspace when you see this note of like, then you have to think, oh, when was the time that Emma supported me? And so it's kind of just like reinforcing like your partnership and, you know, the great things about it. And cause they talk about how like we get into just kind of like the motions, and we get into our daily lives, and we don't
get comfortable.
Yeah. A lot of people don't, you got to put that effort in. You're not just going to like be excited to see them every day when they come home just because they're coming home. Sometimes you're going to have to get up, greet them, you know, embrace. That's another thing. Like make sure you're like spending time embracing, looking into each other's eyes, like actually like having that physical connection too. So just like things like that. And yeah, like I said, it's not always applicable, but we're still like learning some things too. And it's also fun when you get like a little tidbit that you're like, oh, that's interesting. Like, let's try that. Never thought about doing that, or,
Yeah.
things like that. So,
Yeah.
but yeah,
That's
basically
cool.
it's just hanging out together, and yeah, because otherwise you just kind of go through your life and you are like, oh yeah, we should probably have a date. Like if you're not thinking about it or working towards it, then it's going to pass you by. So
Totally.
yeah,
Totally.
but all right. Well, that's a wrap. And I thank you.
Is it?
Yeah.
I thought there was one more question.
No, those are my questions. Unless you want to answer I haven't actually like put this into my questions, but if you want to answer the last meal question that Cynthia submitted to me, it's like
The last meal.
yeah, and it's like a full course meal. So you pick like any drink, appetizer,
Oh God.
entree, dessert.
You can't ask me that. I'm pregnant. That's like really hard.
Yeah, so it might not be the same right now.
It's not. I actually was on I just joined a network group at work, and I'm gonna be like a lead of some sorts. I don't really know. I'm just getting into it, but that was the icebreaker the other day, was what was your favorite food? And I was like, guys, this is not fair to ask me about food at 6 months pregnant, because my mind goes to all the things. So
can you ask me what my least favorite food is right now?
Right? Yeah. No, I thought you had asked, because I listen every week.
Thank you for listening.
But I thought one of the questions was something about like, if you had 1 minute to tell the world something, like what would it be?
Oh my gosh, you're right. And I skipped that question somehow. Oh my God, this is a great question. Yeah, if you yeah, it's number 4. If you had 1 minute to tell the world something, what would you say? Thank you.
Okay, so I have a few things, but 1 minute. Okay, so be nice. I just can't, like, you just never know what people are going through. Like, just be nice, like every single day. Take accountability. My biggest pet peeve is when people don't take accountability. Like, just take accountability. Own it.
Own up to it, yeah.
Just take accountability for whatever it is, whether you did wrong or right, whatever. Like, just take accountability. Be patient. I think too many people, and people have always, I had a 5th grade teacher actually who was like, you just are incredibly patient. And I've had a few teachers tell me that, but I'm like what, why not be patient? Like, and I think even too, like now being a mom of a toddler who is just exploring all these things, I'm like, I've got all day to watch you explore all these things. Mm-hmm. Like, why not? Like, why am I rushing you? Why, like, all the things. I always tell Dad, I'm like, Dad, be patient. Like, what, like, why do you have to be ornery?
Be patient, Dad. I know you're listening.
And then get outside, get away from your phone, get away from the TV, get outside, see the world for what it is. Like, there are so many good people out there. There's so many things to see, things to do, things to eat, all the things. Like, just get outside. Like, we have such a short time here on earth, and you just need to, I think being with your people and being outside is just like the best. And we live in a world, unfortunately, that people are comparing themselves to a lot of people on social media. And it's like, okay, but you're also living your life too. And like I said earlier, you're probably more than likely living a life right now that you once prayed for, or once, and if you don't pray, once thought about, once dreamed of, whatever it may be. And celebrate that. Like, it's funny. Whenever Demar and I go out to eat, wherever it is, we always cheers, like with our drinks. And it's always been our motto of just like, what are we cheersing for? We're cheersing to life. Like, this is just, that's what it is. Like, every day can be celebrated. Yeah. But yeah, I think be nice, take accountability, get outside, be patient. Like, love it. Life is too short not to do any of those things.
Yeah. I love it. Thank you for the message, and thank you for reminding me of that question. I don't know how I missed it, but I'm glad that you caught it.
Well, being an avid listener, and being the true sister.
Yes, that's what it is.
No. I know what the questions are.
Yeah, that's what it is. That's a good question too. I can't miss that one. But anyway.
The true sister. Did Emma start that? I think Emma did start that.
I don't know, but it's been a long time.
It's been a long time, yeah.
Yeah.
That was like
a long
Bellingham
time title.
days.
Mm-hmm. That might be where it started. If you were coming up to visit us or something.
Probably when I came up to help you with your broken foot.
Yeah. But that was before Emma.
Oh yeah, it was before Emma.
Yeah.
Dang. Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, you still hold the title.
I'll never forget that. When I had come and helped you.
Yeah.
That was crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank goodness.
But yeah. No,
okay.
Thanks for having me on. Super proud of you for doing this. It's cool. Yeah. I love the podcast. I like just Wednesdays. I'm like, well, I'll either listen to it on our walk in the mornings or when she's down for a nap, because that's usually when I can get some good work done. And like, obviously, like I said, I need something in the background, so I'll listen to the podcast. But I always am like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm just talking to my sister.
Yeah.
And I love talking with my sisters.
Yeah.
So yeah, everyone needs to stay tuned for that episode with all of us on it. It's gonna be a great episode.
Hopefully season 2.
Yeah.
But
that might be some feedback you get, is the seasonal Bradley Girls episode. People are gonna love it. Yeah. They are gonna love it. But I did want to say about that comment that the Pine Top person made about a solo episode. I love that idea. And another like idea you could do is you could have like a Q&A, so you could have people ask questions. Yes.
Yeah.
And then that be the episode. Mm-hmm. There's a podcast that I listen to. She's actually in Arizona. And she does a solo episode every once in a while on her podcast. I think she's only been on for like 1 or 2 seasons, but those episodes are really nice because it's really just her being able to focus on those questions and kind of give advice. Mm-hmm. So I love the idea of a solo Chelsea episode.
Yeah. Well, if I get enough questions, I'll do one. So everybody send in your questions.
I mean, I'll ask 25 questions all by myself. So, if you need questions, I'll find them for you.
Or also any topics that you want me to talk about too. Because I got, like I said, a lot on my mind, a lot I could talk about.
And your wife is unavailable. So you have the time to answer the questions.
Yeah, exactly. So send them my way.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, big thank you for being here. We'll
of course
love to have you back. We'll talk track,
I'll be back.
Talk questions. I don't know, whatever we want to talk about.
I'll be back, but make sure you have your brother-in-law on before I'm back again, because he was very like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I wasn't on season 1.
Oh, that's the stipulation. Okay. Bill's got to be on before you're back on. Okay, got
it. Bill has to be on.
Okay, sounds good. All right. Well, I'll thank my lifetime sponsor next. That would be my mother. Shout out Mom. If you want more from me, please check out my website at chelseabcoaching.com, and I'm on Instagram at chelseabcoaching, and my Facebook page is Prioritize You LLC. If you have any feedback, as we said, please reach out. There's a send me a message thing at the end of the description of the episode. I might move it to the beginning, but it's there nonetheless. So, please leave a comment, send me a message, rate the episode, share it with somebody, share the podcast with somebody, spread the love is the message there. And then lastly, if you want to sponsor an episode, you can go to buymeacoffee.com/mywifesunavailable. All right. That'll be that. Thanks so much, young grasshopper. See you next time.
You're welcome. Love ya.
Love ya. Bye-bye.